Are you disappointed? I know I am. You would think the Montreal Canadiens would come out stronger in this hockey game because they know they had the Washington Capitals licking their wounds. Granted, no Sam Montembeault for the Canadiens, no Patrick Laine, but that didn't seem to be a problem at the end of game number 3. But then Tom Wilson stole the show and took this win away from the Montreal Canadiens. Time to drop the puck on Montreal Hockey Talk. Hey gang, Kosta here with another edition of Montreal Hockey Talk, and I was hoping that this one would be a little bit more jubilant, but instead, heads down, licking our wounds, the Montreal Canadiens lose to the Washington Capitals by a score of 5-2. And why did it happen? Well, Tom Wilson. Who else? There was so much focus on Wilson in this hockey game, it's absurd. Not just because Anderson went after him and got called for roughing along the boards, or, the fact that he was running roughshod and eventually changed the momentum of the hockey game with one massive hit. It's like, why are you focusing on Tom Wilson? Who cares? He can't win the series by himself, but you let him win a hockey game. And here's my problem. Wilson comes in, obliterates Carrier along the boards after Carrier made a pass. And people are saying, yeah, it was a dirty hit. It was a bit late. It wasn't. It was clean, no contact to the head, and Carrier fell awkwardly into the boards. Rung his bell, as we say. Concussed? Absolutely. Like getting hit by a car, basically. He went to the bench, didn't last long there, and went back to the locker room. And on the same play, Andrew Mangiapane comes in and scores to tie the hockey game. My problem is this. You heard the announcer say, well, Anderson went after him, shaking his gloves. You're playing in a fucking playoff game. It's not the time to go looking for a scrap after a big hit. You need to defend. You need to play. And the Canadiens tonight, power play was great. Penalty kill was great. 5-on-5, putrid. Shit. Garbage. And it's no fault for everybody out there who's like, and I'm going to get to this later, people are bitching at Marty St. Louis. Why? Is he the one that told Lane Hutson to give the puck away twice that led to goals? Did he tell him to do it? Or did Lane Hutson himself know he made fucking mistakes on the ice? You can't put that on the coach. And everybody out there who's saying, oh, well, you don't have enough veterans. It's a young team. No shit, Sherlock. It's a young team. You weren't saying that after game 3. So don't lay this on the fact that they're young. It has nothing to do with it. They made mistakes. So yeah, does it have to do with youth? Maybe, a little bit. But at the end of the day, they made mistakes. And those mistakes, just like the last game in game 3, ended up in the back of their fucking net. They're nothing more than that. Except tonight, they made more mistakes than they did in game 3. It's a simple concept, guys. Think about it for a minute. All right? On the Mangiapane goal, okay, that tied the hockey game after the Wilson hit, what was the one key thing that you saw? Not just Anderson fucking off up the ice to go after Wilson, but the fact that Christian Dvorak did exactly what I said a couple of shows ago a player should never do. If you're going to block a shot, block the damn shot. Either that or get out of the way. He screened his own goalie. If you look at Dobich, he's late to react because he never picks up the puck. He doesn't pick it up in time. And why? Because Mr. Dvorak turned his ass towards the puck to try to block it with the back of his leg. You idiot. Stand up straight and take the block. If you're not going to block it, move. Extend your stick, do something, but don't screen your own goalie. Puck's in the net, game's time. I mean, they're all things that these guys all know all too well, but they're making mistakes on the ice. You make mistakes, that's how teams win. It's a simple equation. It's been like that since the dawn of time. If each team played perfectly, nobody would fucking score. It's a game of errors. And tonight, the Montreal Canadiens made a bunch of them. They gave away the puck 12 times to Washington's 8. That was a complete reversal from game 3. Why? Because Montreal wasn't applying the same pressure. Right? And most of the shots the Canadiens got late is because they were pushing the play a little bit because they were behind. But up until the point where the game was tied by Mangiapane, they had 12 shots on goal. What the fuck? It's a playoff game. How do you go through 2.5 periods with 12 shots or 13 shots or whatever the case was? How do you do that? Is that on the coach? Does he tell them not to shoot? No. So stop blaming Marty St. Louis for the shortcomings of the players. They're the ones making the decisions on the ice. You can't blame the guy behind the bench. He's done masterful work in developing these guys and getting them ready. If you thought for a minute the Montreal Canadiens were going to go fly through this series without any adversity, you need to go see a psychologist. Because holy shit, nobody expected him to even be in the playoffs this year, other than yours truly. And everybody thought I was nuts. But I thought they had the talent to do it. Did they? Yes. They backdoored it in, but they got there. But that didn't mean that I thought they were going to win a freaking playoff series, because they're not ready for that yet. There's an old adage in hockey. You've got to learn to lose before you can win. Edmonton talks about that this year based on the run to the Stanley Cup final last season and how pissed off they were that they lost in Game 7. You get 11 wins in the playoffs or 15 wins in the playoffs, you got nothing to scoff at. You lost in a do-or-die game, but you still lost. And so that feeling doesn't go away. It's the same for Montreal. They're going to learn from this. All the players that are there are going to learn from this experience. They're going to hear the crowd. Or they heard the crowd and they're saying, oh my God, listen to this crap. This is awesome. I want to play for these guys. But tonight they didn't do that. Tonight, after they took the lead, they played scared. And that comes with youth. And, where people are saying, oh yeah, we got to get bigger. So we went from getting bigger and being slower and being crap to getting smaller, getting more skilled, and being able to create more offense. And now you want to backtrack this? You can't have your cake and eat it too, Habs fans. You were happy with this team. This team made the playoffs. Stop nitpicking now because they're in the playoffs, okay? This team is far from done rebuilding. So slow down. Be happy with what you have. You've got playoff hockey for the first time in 4 years. Shut up already. It's enough. You want to blame the referees? Sure. They missed calls. Tonight, I thought they mitigated what was going on very well. I didn't like the call that they made on Bakc when he took out Alexiev, but he did interfere with him. Alexiev, he embellished. He should have been called for that, but they didn't call it. It is what it is. But it comes down to, that's a reputation thing too, with Bakc. And I don't see why that penalty was called based on reputation. He's not a dirty player by any stretch. He was just trying to slow down Alexiev the same way Washington was slowing down Montreal players. Alexiev fell on his ass. The guy's 6'5". He fell down like somebody blew on him and he was a piece of paper. Okay? The referee got fooled. And yeah, they're going to go back and look at the video and say, look how stupid you look on this penalty because Alexiev just dropped to his knees. It is what it is, guys. At the end of the day, Montreal did not bring enough to the ice tonight to win this hockey game. And that's not a lack of preparation. That's a lack of execution. What more do you want Marty St. Louis to do at this point? You're missing Line A to injury. Montembeault's out with injury. Granted, goaltending wasn't the issue tonight. It was effort. I thought the Evans line played extremely well tonight. Demidov getting a couple of points on the power play, a couple of assists. Caulfield scoring. Slafkovsky scoring on a beautiful feed from Demidov. I mean, there was a lot of good points. And the penalty kill, outstanding tonight. But there were also some very bad points. And that's in the giveaways and defending. And on the first goal that Washington scored, I was trying to figure out exactly what Mike Matheson was trying to do. And I've said this before. Matheson's got to learn to stop trying to play the puck all the time. And when he's one-on-one with somebody, take the man. He doesn't do that. And that's a veteran defenseman. That's not somebody who, Johnny-come-lately, who's been on the ice for the first time this season. He's no rookie. He should know better. Didn't happen. We're going to blame Marty St. Louis for that, right? Because Matheson doesn't play the body? No, we're not. We're going to blame the player. Okay? The mistakes that Hudson made at the blue line, giving away the puck, especially with the empty net. 2 guys on him. He tried to make a fancy move at the blue line. When you're 1-on-2, dump the puck into the corner. That's not what happened. Puck went the other way into the empty net. And you could see Hudson was upset. But that is what it is. You can't do anything about that. Mistakes are mistakes. That's what wins hockey games. That is exactly what happened to the Montreal Canadiens tonight. They shot themselves in the foot. They had the momentum. They had everything. And once Wilson threw that hit, nothing happened. Nobody answered the bell. Not Anderson, not Xhekaj. So what are you there for? Your good looks? You all wanted him in the lineup because he was going to bring a physical presence and nobody was going to do anything and take any liberties while Xhekaj was on the ice. Well, guess what, folks? The proof is right there in front of you. Wilson took the liberties and he didn't give a shit if Xhekaj was on the ice or not, or Anderson was on the ice or not. Because it's a playoff game. If this was regular season, somebody would have put his head into the floor and beat the crap out of him. But in the playoffs, nobody drops the gloves. Nobody. Case in point. It's extremely rare. Now the Canadiens have their backs up against the wall, and what are you going to do? Just before I came down to record this podcast, somebody on Facebook had the gall to say, who pulls their goalie with 3 minutes left in the hockey game? Oh, I don't know. Maybe about half the coaches in the National Hockey League, especially when you're down a goal and on the verge of going down 3-1 in a series. We've never seen that before in our lifetime. Yes, we have. So stop trying to lay blame for something that wasn't the coach's fault. It's the only card you have left to play at that point, right? What did you want him to do? Wait until a minute and a half? The Canadiens had possession of the puck. They just screwed the pooch when they had it. Not the coach's fault. That's not how he drew it up. That's how they executed. And execution is ultimately what bit the Montreal Canadiens. And the offense was absolutely abysmal. Okay? Again, we get back to it. The Canadiens the other night in Game 3 were all over the Washington Capitals, creating turnovers, getting pucks to the net, and controlling the middle of the ice. Tonight, I should say, you watch this game, and Washington was passing the puck right up the middle of the ice freely like nobody was there. And they weren't. And the Canadiens, of course, couldn't take the middle of the ice back once that happened. And the shots on goal were coming from the flanks. And more often than not, when you're shooting from the flanks, the puck goes wide. It's physics. It's angles. And the fact that Logan Thompson was back, that's great news for Washington. But it shouldn't have made a difference because we pumped Thompson last game. You should have a little bit of confidence knowing that if you pepper him with shots, you're going to score. That's not what happened. The Canadiens decided, we're going to go back to what didn't work for us, and we're going to mitigate the amount of shots we take, and we're going to try to thread the needle again. Well, guess what? Threading the needle never worked all season long. Why would it start now when everybody's putting their body on the line to block shots? But you decide, I'm going to try to get it just in that little corner. Again, don't blame the coach for that. Shot selection is not the coach's problem. It's the player's problem. Shooting the puck, missing the net. Not getting to rebounds. Getting boxed out. Not putting in enough effort to get to the pucks. All that stuff. That's not on Marty St. Louis. Because when he played, he would get to those pucks. He would fight through traffic. Small guy, still worked. So the size thing, throw it out the window. There used to be a guy on the Montreal Canadiens by the name of Mats Naslund back in the 1980s. Won a cup in 1986 with the Canadiens. He was the last player to get 100 points in a season as a left winger. Okay? And he was 5'6". Back then, did anybody bitch about size on the team? I don't think so. Didn't matter. And you had guys like Sheldon. He was small. For 10 years, Saku Koivu was our captain. Did you complain about his size because of the courage that he played with? No. But we do that now. Excuses. That's all we ever look for. Well, there is no fucking excuse. The team made mistakes. They didn't play well. Their offense was garbage. So when your offense is garbage, if you're not going to put in the effort to forecheck, and you're not going to put in the effort to separate man from puck to create scoring chances, you're not going to win. You're not beating the Washington Capitals up and down the ice nonstop. That's not how this goes. If you think that's how you're going to win, you're dead wrong. You're going to win by allowing your penalty kill to do its job. You're going to win because your power play is firing, and you're going to win because at 5-on-5, you go in there and you get your nose dirty. Nope, didn't happen. Apparently, Game 3 was all they had. Kind of reminds me of the Cup final in 2021, doesn't it? Right? They won one hockey game. Oh, we're good. No. And again, I didn't even expect Montreal to win this series. I wanted them to win a couple of games, to look good, to at least win 2 at home, maybe 3, bring it to 7 games. I didn't expect them to win. To be dead honest, right? Everybody's saying, yeah, Habs in 6. You guys are smoking something you shouldn't be. Freaking formaldehyde. I don't know what you're smoking, but if realistically, if you thought at the beginning of the series Montreal was going to beat Washington, I got a pair of Canadiens rose-colored glasses to give you. I mean, it is what it is. The guys came out. They didn't play the same way. They didn't execute the game plan the same way as the other night. They focused too much on what happened in Game 3 between Wilson and Anderson and the physicality as opposed to focusing on what worked. And therein lies the problem. That's how they lost the hockey game. Plain and simple. Don't try to, rewrite the way hockey's played. They lost focus, especially after the hit. There goes the game. Done. Dead and buried. And special teams was the only reason tonight that Montreal was close. Killing off a 5-on-3, scoring a couple of goals on the power play. Fantastic. And like I said, 5-on-5, they were crap. There was nothing there. Sure, they got a couple of chances, but there wasn't much. You had Anderson in tight. There was a couple of other chances that they got. But other than that, nothing. It was slim pickings for Montreal tonight because Washington came to play. And they had no answer for it. You can't expect just your special teams to win games. You have to play at 5-on-5. Okay? And there's no two ways about that. And 5-on-5 tonight, we were bad. There's no excuse. Our defense did not play well. We were down to 5 defensemen at one point after the Carrier hit, but our defense did not play well at all. I mean, I saw instances where Jacky made mistakes. Hudson certainly made a bunch of mistakes. Matheson, Gooley made a few. That led to scoring chances. Our forwards weren't back-checking enough. They were trying to stretch the ice, and that's not what they did in Game 3. In Game 3, you watched, they were back in the zone. They were, even Derek Lalonde, who was on the panel for Sportsnet, pointed it out. The Canadiens were back, 5-man cluster, defending in their zone, insulating Dobish at certain points. But in the third period, they didn't do that anymore. They were trying to stretch the ice, and they got caught. And there's no need for that. They had the momentum. Again, stick to the game plan. There's no Marty St. Louis saying, okay, guys, screw playing D. Let's go, go, go. You're not beating Washington that way in a foot race. There's no way. You stick to what works. You stick to what worked the other night. And for all intents and purposes, Jakub Dobish let in one bad goal, I would say, but the one off Duhaime's chest and Mangiapane's goal, not much you can do. From the slot, screened by his own player. You're not stopping that puck. I don't care who you are. Whether it's Montembeault, whether it's him, whether it's Primo, whether it's Jacob Fowler, whether it's Carey Price, I don't care. From that distance, not happening. So where do the Canadiens go from here? What's next for Game 5? Well, I can tell you one thing. They're not going to have last change, so the matchups aren't going to be the same anymore. You know that the Washington crowd is going to be crazy loud, just like the Montreal crowd was in Game 3. So Washington's going to come out with all kinds of momentum to start that hockey game, and the Habs are going to have to fight that off. Can they? Depends on their character. That's going to be a big part of this. If they're going to get back into the series, they need to show grit. They need to show character. The same way they did against the Leafs in 2021, the same way they did in 2010 when they beat the Penguins on the Capitals. That's what they have to do. They have to dig deep. It's not about X's and O's anymore. It's about this. And who wants it more? If Washington wants it, it's going to be a blowout. Mark my words. But if the Canadiens want it, watch out, Washington. Will Montembeault start? He's day-to-day. We don't know. But whether he does or he doesn't, unless our players decide to play, the goalie's not scoring goals. The guys up front are. And the last time I checked, 99% of the time you're not winning if you score 2 goals or less. You need at least 3. So the Canadiens need to come out. They need to weather the storm early from the Washington Capitals. Wilson's going to be running a rough shot. So, what do? Obviously, Jack-Eye wasn't the answer. And Savard, he's too slow of foot, I think. So I would sit Savard, despite the fact that may very well be his last game in the NHL. And I would put Struble in. You want to win? Put your best players out there. Okay, Savard is having so much trouble keeping up with the play. So you throw out Struble instead of Savard, and you play. Struble can move the puck, he can skate up the ice, and you take your chances with another young defenseman. It is what it is. Savard's not going to provide you any offense. And the flopping in front of the net on the penalty kill, now even Matheson does it. Thanks for that. I mean, they're not Hal Gill. Hal Gill made it an art form to lean like that. And Hal Gill wasn't fast, but he was 6'6". And he covered a lot of space when he went down. Not these boys. So, how do the Canadiens win? Easy. Go back to what worked the other day. Get pucks in deep, come in, finish your body checks, get in on the forecheck hard, and separate man from puck. It's the only way. The Washington defense are not gangbusters. They're not overly large. Okay? Chychrun, Roy, and Carlson are the guys that you have to beat. Carlson, nowhere near the same speed as he had when he was younger. He's been beat up quite a bit with all the minutes that he's played. You can lean on him. Chychrun, he's a better skater, more of an offensive threat. And Roy, he's kind of been invisible, or Roy, I should say, excuse me. He's kind of been invisible in this series so far. So what do? Go after him. Get at it. Work hard. Take that punishment. Give the hits. Separate man from puck and get scoring chances. Get into Logan Thompson's grill. Shoot the pucks up high. Hurt him again if you want with another shot off the head. No skin off my back. Because tonight, the Canadiens made it very easy for Logan Thompson and the Capitals. So let's get busy, boys. If you're going to win the next 3 games, you got a lot of work ahead of you, and it's gut check time. Go Habs, go.